Well, hey, Mr. Muhammad, I see you're here.
How are you?
Good.
That's good. Yeah, we're early birds.
Yeah, who's teaching today? Do you know?
Myrna.
Oh, yay. That's right.
Yeah, she's gonna talk about the new contract.
Okay. Wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah. Let's see how that is, because I heard it's like very long.
It's very long, Muhammad, but let me tell you, a lot of us don't like change. But
Yeah.
the thing is about it is it takes a lot away from you, that things that you have to make
Like a
decisions about or that you have to write in. So it makes it
yeah.
really easier. It's just a lot longer, so it's threatening for some of us.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
Yes, I helped somebody write a contract or write an offer a few days ago. And um, as I told them, um, you'll see along the left hand side, there are numbers that are bunched together, and then
Mhm.
there's space, and then there are more numbers bunched together. So once
Yeah.
you hit that one group of numbers, then you can move on to the next. So it's not really as long as we look at
Ah,
it to be. It's
yeah.
just a lot of print to give you your choices instead of making you fill those things in yourself.
Right. Yeah. That's good. I'm glad they made it easy.
Yeah.
That's good.
I don't think it's really easy, but it puts you in a place of uh can't say diminished liability, but it helps you not to be liable for some things that you could be in the world. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. We need no lawsuits.
That's right. Or complaints, even.
Yeah.
So I'm going to mute myself because I'm getting ready to get started on something else for a minute.
Okay.
Talk to you
Yeah.
later.
Can somebody out in Zoom land confirm that you can see the documents on the screen for me, please?
I see Imagine MLS. Good morning.
Yes, I can see them. Good morning, everybody.
Can anybody hear me?
We're unmuted. We can hear you.
Very slow.
Cheyenne, if you're talking, you're on mute.
No, I'm not.
Talk it up. These are my personal handouts.
Can you hear me? This is Denise.
Yes, Denise, I can hear you now. Thank you. Can you all see?
I'm not on mute.
I was able to hear.
Can you all see the documents on the screen?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
We'll get started here shortly. Myrna's just making some copies for the people that are attending in person.
Yeah.
Oh, can Myrna make copies for me and drop them in my mailbox, please?
Yes, I will print off some and drop them in your mailbox.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I'm so old school. I wish I could come into the new age.
This is a digital copy of what you sent me. Just scroll through. They can see that on their screen.
That's awesome. Can you all see me? You can, can't you?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning.
Copies off the copy machine, but they're not done yet. It's really slow. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
9 o'clock. Um, so I am sharing with you my personal handouts because I think I can do a better job than tonight. I don't know why. I mean, yesterday I was at the grocery store and I turned down this aisle and there's one of my former students. And having been in my homeroom class at Pittsburgh Middle School. And I knew that he became a teacher. Of all my students that I had in my classes, he would have been the last person that I ever thought that would become a teacher. But he did, a social studies teacher. And what?
So I feel like that's how it is, right?
And I said, "Are you still teaching?" And he said, "No, I'm retired." And I went, "Oh, wow, does that make me feel?" So, anyway, I'm Myrna Downey. I'm the principal broker for right now. I think you all know we're gonna have a transition here soon. I've been doing this will be my 19th year to do Keller Williams Bluegrass. They can't, okay. Oh, there I am. And what you're seeing on the screen right now is something that I would suggest that you use or put next to your computers. I'll put it where you can get to it very easily, and that's Clear Cooperation. I even have to go back and look at it to make sure that I remember exactly what you can do with each one of the different statuses of your listings. Because if you do an office exclusive, you can see there. I'm so used to a touch screen.
You just want to scroll through the documents?
I'm gonna, yeah. What, oh, you, okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Just drag your finger.
okay. Wait a minute.
We can minimize this. You can use the scroll bar right here.
Okay,
Is that better?
yeah. I brought my own computer, but we'll try this one. Okay, so this is from Bluegrass Realtors, and you can find it on their dashboard if you don't know where it is. And this tells you the things that you can do when you have different types of listings. And with the office exclusive, which we are using more and more, which I just have one myself, and I couldn't tell the seller exactly what we could do and couldn't do until I pulled this up again. But you can, when is the listing sent to publicly viewable websites, including IDX? Well, it's never with office exclusives. That means it doesn't go to Zillow. It doesn't go to any of the other websites. It is strictly in our office exclusive Google Drive here in our office. You, as an agent in this office, can show it to your clients, but no one else in any other office can. Even the other Keller Williams offices can't show it. Does that make sense to you all? The reason you would do that, and the reason I'm doing it, I have an older lady that, she's probably my age. Anyway, she lost her husband and she's got lots of Civil War paraphernalia that's very valuable. She's got swords, she's got guns, she's got army uniforms, and her daughter's coming to get them. But I wanted her to sign because this was one of those, it's a townhouse. It looks like a condo, but it's a townhouse in Edmonds Cross. You all can know about it. And I wanted her to sign my paperwork because enough people would know about this eventually that it probably could have been sold within the community. And she really does need me to help her. Whether she knows it, but she may not really know it. So this is the way you make sure that you have that listing. And if you're gonna be working with them, helping them, and they're not ready to put it on the MLS, just make sure that you get that listing and that they work with you. We want to make sure that we have the value that we present to buyers and sellers. And that's what I'm going to be talking to you today about, is your value proposition and why people should work with you. And I hope that some of the things I'm giving you today will make you even more valuable to your clients. That was my goal for this class. The days on the market don't start with the office exclusive. The cumulative days on the market don't start either. What paperwork is required to submit to the MLS? Well, we have that office exclusive coming soon document. It's a little confusing for some people because the first thing it says in there, and I don't think I have a copy of that in this handout. But that's easy to get on .loop. And by the way, you're gonna see some changes in your .loop forms. And it's probably finished. I did a few more. Maria Denas and I and Jen Kaba are working on cleaning up the .loop folders and trying to make sure that they're in good shape. And as you all saw, they're going to.
Hooray.
Hello?
It was Denise. I was saying hooray.
Oh. You all can say something anytime you want to. Unmute yourself if you would like to talk to me. This is an interactive class. I want us to share with each other our ahas and our things that we use with our buyers and sellers that we feel like sets us apart. One of the things about Keller Williams is that we're known for sharing, that we try to help each other be more successful. And that's not always the case that you're going to find in all the offices that are real estate offices, because people feel like they're competing with each other. Did you get? Oh, it didn't stable. Yay.
Yeah, listen, I don't know
Here.
where to start and where to end, so.
I'll give you. Oh, this is gonna be the last page. I added that to it. Gotcha. One of the pages that you all don't have that I added here just a few minutes ago, and the last thing I printed was that list of things that you should be aware of. Hi, come in.
How are you?
I'm good.
I'm sorry, I'm late.
No problem. Just your handout.
Sitting and burn it down.
That's all of it.
Okay, very good, very good.
I'm sharing my trade secrets today.
Trade secrets?
Yeah.
You have some trade secrets?
I do. Yeah, you're not in this business as long as I've been without trade secrets. What do you think? The handouts are in the chat. And here they are for you.
Thank you.
Some of them I've gotten from agents in our office that have shared with me, and I've gotten their permission to share with you all. And that is one that Vanessa Bell has, a very nice document that I was looking at her group one day, and I saw it, and I went, boy, I like that. So we don't want to reinvent, but we know if we can avoid it. And so that's the reason why this class is going to be a sharing class.
Rip off and do.
Rip off and duplicate it, that's right. But some of these I've made myself, so I don't mind sharing them with you all. But back to clear cooperation. if you're going to have, obviously you can have it active and you don't have to fill out that form. That very first paragraph on coming soon and office exclusive says active, but if you're gonna list the property and put it directly on the MLS, you do not have to send that form into the association, the MLS. Then the coming soon. So you can do a coming soon, and within 1 business day of obtaining a completed exclusive right to sell or exclusive agency agreement. It needs to, once you get that listing, you need to have it on the MLS within, how long do you have? 24 hours. When is public marketing allowed? Immediately. So as soon as you get that listing on, and you really want to have pictures ready to put on the MLS when you list the property. So, because it doesn't look good, it doesn't look like you're doing your job if you have a listing that comes up and there's no pictures. So even with our, yes,
Sorry, can I add?
absolutely.
So I've noticed a lot of people will, in case you don't know, a lot of you probably do, but like if you list a property, you have to save it as incomplete and then go back to the listing input to add your photos. If you list
And
it-
your seller's disclosure.
and your seller's disclosure, but if you go ahead and list it before you do that, and then put your pictures on, then if anybody has automatic searches set up, it will go out to all those people. And it won't show a picture of the house on the email. If they
Okay,
click on it and then you've added pictures, they'll show up, but like, to me, that makes a difference, because a lot of buyers, I think, don't even click on it if there's not a picture.
I agree
So
with
you
you.
need to add the pictures before you activate, make it active, even if you're going back and immediately adding that. Does that make sense?
Yes. Can you all hear what Philip just said?
Yes.
Good. Okay, just make sure you do incomplete and then put your pictures on and then submit it to be active on the MLS. That way your pictures will go out with these people that are doing automatic. Like I always put on ASAP for people that are in my subscriptions so that they get it immediately. And so, because I showed a property on Saturday to a client, and it just so happens that Brenda Root was in the house showing it at the time I got there. She was showing before me. Malia was the showing after me. Of course, I can see their offers on Dotloop. I don't think anybody ever thought about that. Look, can I just say something? I have never looked if I was going to do an offer. I promise you.
Did they make offers?
I don't know. It went pending, but when I got there, Brenda told me that there were 40 showings for this property on
What was
Saturday.
the price point?
347,
Where was it?
Drayton in Wellington.
Oh, I showed that.
You didn't make an offer? Yeah, it needed a little work.
I could tell that.
Yeah, you could, well, when you tried to get an offer. Yeah, whether they block it off because there's something, some reason, or there's showings, and this was all showings, yeah. So, so with your, coming soon. When are showings allowed? Okay, never. If the property is shown to anyone, it must be available to everyone and go active on the MLS immediately. So if somebody calls me out that's not in our office and says, I really want to show your townhouse. I've told the seller, and this is where communication comes in. I'm going to use some of the stuff at Ignite, I promise you. I have read this very thoroughly to make sure I'm covering everything. But it's all about communication with your buyers and your sellers. And it's really critical. Like I just got a CRS referral. And I don't know if you all are familiar with different designations, but CRS is one that people hold to a higher standard because they think that people that have gotten CRS, I think it's 5 years of real estate experience or a certain amount of transactions that you need that may be able to get a CRS. But people look for CRSs, and what happens is that these Keller Williams agents also are looking for a Keller Williams agent that has a CRS. So that will make you stand out and make you get more referrals within our Keller Williams family. This guy found me out of the blue and on the CRS website He sent me a buyer, this week. And he's been in Lexington for a while. And so that, I communicated with him through, text and with email. I said, you wanna call me and we'll talk, and he's an engineer, so. I don't know if you all have dealt with engineers, but you have to be, very precise. And they don't wanna spend a lot of time doing stuff that they don't need to do. So eventually I'm gonna want him to meet with me and let me go over. What I'm gonna show you all here, because I have a checklist that I set up myself, and I'm sharing that with you in your handouts. So coming soon, days on market does not accumulate while the listing is in a coming soon status. So we watch how long a property's been on the market. If something's been on the market for 100 days, you question what's going on with that. Why is it not
In this market.
in this market, for sure, particularly when you have 40 showings, and I'm sure she got multiple offers on it. And I know that there were gonna be some cash offers. My buyer has been looking for years. And, I almost said, I don't think you wanna see this house, because you're not ready to make an offer, and it's gonna sell today. And, uh-huh. And, she said, no, she talked herself out of it. Then as I'm walking out the door on Sunday to go have dinner with friends, she texts me and says, I think I'm gonna make an offer, of course. So what would you do in that case?
Wait, did she see it or not see it?
She did,
Okay,
she and her daughter. What would you do
Dating at that point?
no, offers were due Sunday.
Sunday evening.
by 9 o'clock? Yeah, what would you do if you?
Her decision if she wants to make an offer on it, so you can only comply and make the offer.
That's right.
Advise her as best you can, and, oh, well, I'm sorry about dinner.
Yeah, that's right,
I think I would poke a few questions though, and just asking like what she's trying, just to make sure that she's serious.
yeah, yeah. Well, she's a real good friend of mine. I've known her for 40 years. And so, I said, okay, I said, I'm taking my computer. Because I said, you know what? There's gonna be cash offers. Can you make a cash offer? We'd already talked about that. She said, no, I can't make a cash offer. I got money, but I can't. And in her mind, she doesn't want to take money out of her house. She owns her house free and clear. But we need to sit down and really, I got her pre-approved, but I need to sit down with her and say, if you're really serious in this market, you need to get your money lined up.
Every day, do you think she has?
She probably has $650,000.
Go to the credit union, get the block open.
Mhm. She, what I think I'm gonna need to do for her, what would you all recommend? She has a house she owns free and clear. It's in one of the most desirable zip codes in town. So what is that? It's in O2.
So
It's in really good shape.
Needs to be updated,
Not really.
not really.
But it has a little bit of
It's
date.
big.
It's big and all the bedrooms are on the second floor, and it's a townhouse duplex. And that's very common in that area of 40502. They're everything.
Ooh, my client wants to buy it.
Okay. Okay, we can do that.
Let's talk.
Why is it taking her so long? Like, what has been, she really hasn't needed to move, so she's just been,
She
I like to
is,
look at houses and.
I won't give you her name because I'll say some things about her, but she's 84 and she looks 60 or maybe even 55 or 60, but somewhere between 55 and 60. She's a vivacious blonde, goes to aerobics every day, and she's decided maybe she shouldn't be going up and downstairs all the time. So, she had a need to sell it. Now she's thinking it'd be a good idea to get onto, and something that's all one level. So Drayton was a good mix of that, and it had plenty of bedrooms, which,
four bedroom, 3 full bath.
yeah,
This is interesting.
yeah, it was. So, what she needs to do, what I was suggesting to her is we put it on the market and we use one of the forms that we can use for that. What is that form? Seller replacement. That's what I did when I sold my house last. I had it, I didn't really have it listed. I had word of mouth in our office. Brenda Ruth said, I have somebody that wants to see it, Malia showed it. I had a solar replacement form with my listing, but since it was. And I had a buyer in hand at the top of my price range, or what I was listing it for. And I said, I will sell my house if I can find a house. And one came up and we worked it out and we closed the same day, and they let us stay in the house for about, I think, 2 weeks to get out of it. Because at that time, in 2022, we were in this such hot market, people would give you anything,
Yeah.
their firstborn.
Right, kidney.
Tell you, what I think she really needs to do is talk to. I know Republic Bank, I'm pretty sure they still have this, but they have a contingency relief program, which is kind of like. It's kind of like a bridge loan, but different, but like, they can go ahead and like. I think they have to do an appraisal, but they can go ahead
Republic.
and pull money out of her house so she can pay. To pay cash,
Mhm.
and then.
It's like a
She would definitely have three.
Well, essentially just put the house back on the market, put the house on the market as soon as she goes under contract. But we wouldn't be contingent on that house selling,
Mhm.
and then, once it sells, she just pays it off, and she would end up paying very little.
It's a little T is with that.
Republic Bank is offering that.
It's a contingency relief program.
Okay,
I
okay.
haven't used it before, but like,
I have read about that. All right, well, that's the reason I want this to be an interactive class, because I wasn't sure
I
about
mean,
it.
with that much equity in the house, she needs to be able to. If she wants to be as competitive as possible, she needs to be able to pick that.
Yeah, yes. And then now she's saying, come over and tell me what I need to do in my house to get it on the market, so. So she's more serious now than
Taking
she's
baby
been.
steps in that
Nothing,
direction.
Denise is calling.
Denise,
Yes,
did you raise your hand?
No, I said.
no,
She's ready to buy that,
Oh.
so you've got
Do
a
you
buyer.
need to do anything?
Oh, you have a buyer for it?
well, now, is it a duplex that she owns both sides, or is she in one side?
No, these
Okay.
are individually owned townhouses that have an adjoining wall.
Like a
It-
villa.
it-
Okay.
it's, that area off of Alumni Camino? They're high-end duplexes there.
Yeah.
So all of them are in the 600 range,
Mhm.
and very, very, very nice. So then you're coming soon. The paperwork you send to Bluegrass Realtors is your listing contract, which I have a little bit of a problem with myself, because I don't think that that's necessarily something that they need to see, but whatever. I have to go by their rules because I'm a member of the association. You have to go by their rules because we all are members of the association. In order to be a member of a brokerage that's in the association, everybody has to be a member of the association. So all these people that didn't renew their dues at the association will be did you all see, let me finish that statement. Everybody that didn't pay, if they are in the list from KREC and Bluegrass Realtors finds them, they'll send me a bill for their dues. So at that time, either I pay it or I release their license. And I've had to tell a couple people that. What's that?
If they haven't paid Bluegrass Realtors, is there?
Bluegrass Realtors, yes. You have to be a member of the association. Any brokerage that you're affiliated with, that's the rule, that you have to pay, you have to be a member. Now, the one exception is that you can be a member of another MLS, but then you don't have access to Bluegrass Realtors MLS. You only have a affiliation, you don't have to have access to that MLS. So that's the drawback. But you can be a member, you can be in a brokerage as long as you have an MLS affiliation. So just keep this document so that you have it near your computer when you're putting your listings in. And that way you'll know exactly what you can do and can't do when you have new listings. And hopefully we're gonna get a whole bunch of those. So the first part of these handouts are dealing with listings, sellers. And this is a document that I got from Vanessa Vale. Are you providing lunch for us?
I'm not, the public bank is providing breakfast, I think.
Well, he got a plug, they plug.
I did just plug.
They-
I am definitely. I'm using Republic Bank now.
Wow,
That's, yeah.
that is so funny.
Always listen.
Who is it?
I'm going to use Republic Bank next.
What loan officer is it?
Don's go.
Okay, ask her if she has that loan and I'll send my client to her. So this next one is one that you can send to your seller after you get it under contract. And this is one that Vanessa had. And so I got it and kind of modified it just a little bit, but most of it's just word for word what she had. And she gets the seller to sign it. And she just gives them some ideas about what they can expect moving forward after they get their house under contract. And so this will be the home inspection, of course, it's the next thing. And she said this will be scheduled soon by the buyer if the contract is contingent on inspections, and we have a certain number of dates agreed upon. Then the contractor has their inspections. Clock starts from the date of the final signature on contract. Now, that is correct as far as the inspection does start then, but day one of the inspection period starts the next day. And that's something that had needed to be clarified for years. And I've had several attorneys say that that's the way it works, is that if you sign a contract today, day one of the inspection period is at 12 a.m. tomorrow morning. And that's your day one.
Full day.
First full day. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So these are some things that they just suggest that the seller do. Replace your filter. It tells you about how long the inspection can take. It's better if you're not home, because we have some sellers that want to stay in the house, and that the pets should probably be removed. You also should remove anything that would be a problem for people to be able to get into an attic or be able to inspect the house with there's so much stuff in it.
Open baby gates. Not everybody knows how to open.
Baby gates, I agree with you.
That is-
No, I don't even.
Does that mean you're not smart enough to buy a house if you can't open a baby gate?
Some of them are tricky. Some of them are tricky.
I think you can figure it out.
I like this last one. Notify the inspector of any known defective devices that should not be operated because of potential damage. If something's not working, you also should cancel your sellers and put that on the seller's disclosure. Anything that they put on the disclosure, they're not supposed to be able to ask to be repaired or replaced. Now, can they? They can, but technically it says that they shouldn't inspect that. I had an agent call me this week and they said, well, we want to make sure that there's a shelf removed in a closet because you can't get into the attic with the shelf installed. What should I do? And I said, should I put that on the offer to purchase contract? And I said, yes, go ahead. And if there's a definite problem that you want to address, you could go ahead and put that on the offer to purchase.
What was it? Well,
The attic
Attic
access,
access closet.
the shelf.
a lot of inspectors won't move it.
They
I
don't-
know, they won't. Yeah.
It was me and the offer was accepted.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Is this Denise again?
So that's
No,
Cheyenne.
it's Cheyenne.
Oh, hi.
That was me and my offer got accepted all the way from
I
Indiana.
wasn't gonna mention that, but if you're gonna mention it.
I'll say it. That's fine.
All right.
Point out,
So Monday, yes,
Myrna, point
yes,
out what you told me to put in there. Like
okay,
I
yes,
put in there,
yes,
tell them that.
okay, I'll tell them that, thank you, Sean. This is a mutual teaching class, okay? So people do not write contingencies correctly. I'm a teacher. I taught English, I taught science, math, all of the subjects. And when you write a contingency, there's two parts to a contingency. So she wrote that the seller would agree to remove the shelving before the inspection. Otherwise, what's gonna happen? You always have to put what happens if that contingency is not met. And so for her, she put that the seller would be required to pay for the inspector to come back and do a reinspection if the shelf hasn't been removed. Does that make sense? You always want to put the two parts to the contingency, and I rarely see people do that. And I sometimes tell people when I'm looking at your offers, and I don't see all of them because we do have a third party that reviews our contracts. And then you might get a note, and I got the note from them telling me that I didn't have something right. So you'll get something from them that says this form wasn't filled out. Something wasn't signed or whatever from the third party that reviews our offers. Contracts. Okay, start packing, final walkthrough, utilities that need to stay on until closing. A lot of sellers think they can just turn off the utilities if they're not living there, and they can't. Those utilities have to stay on. I mean, obviously in the wintertime, you want the heat on, but anytime, those utilities should stay on. And, the other thing, and you'll see this on my checklist, is that they need to have the house, what we used to call broom swept. That means that they run the vacuum, they sweep the house out, they don't leave it dirty. And that's what, they want to make sure that they know that. So the next checklist that I had put together for another class. Let's see what- Contract to close for sellers. So this is just something that you can give your seller to have, so that they know what's gonna happen. Again, it's communication. You wanna say constantly reminding them things that they need to do. I sold a house to a friend of mine. She paid cash for it, from the sale of her house, all on the same day. And I thought I gave her this checklist, but I don't think I did, and it came back to bite me. So we're back like 2 days after closing, maybe even 3. She calls me and she says, Myrna, I don't have any homeowners insurance. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Well, we were going through so much at this time. I was representing the buyer of her house. I was representing that buyer's house that she had to sell in order to buy this house. I had so many irons in the fire and so many balls jumping around, and it was in January of last year, and that's when I sold all those houses, and I forgot to tell her to get homeowners insurance.
Says something.
There's no lender.
Cash.
No cash.
I think cash people not be.
Yeah, so in this, I made sure that and actually I had it on there twice. And I thought I had sent her this because, it's just one of those things that I do. And so we immediately picked up the phone, called my insurance people and got her insurance within minutes, But then another thing about that is that the inspector, which he shouldn't have said this, but he said, I don't know how old the roof is, but I think it's original to the house. This is the house she's buying. And that was in the report. And somehow she told the insurance people that. And they said, well, we won't insure your roof for the total replacement value. But you'll have that happen. And we've had a couple of instances where they will give some money toward the replacement of the roof if it's damaged, but they won't give you the full amount. So fast forward, she got the homeowners insurance. That worked out. Fast forward, about 2 months later, she decides to replace the roof. She does turn it into a homeowner's insurance, and they covered it. So it's always good. It's always a wise thing to go ahead and try to work with your insurance company, particularly since we've had so many high winds that the roofs in this area have been damaged, and with hail. So
I have a house under contract right now, still kind of compared as far as what's gonna happen with that, but I had 3 different roofers come out because after the inspection, they found some leaks that they did not know about. 2 of the roofers said they didn't think there was a good chance that insurance would cover it. The third one said, oh yeah, I can get this covered. or he acted very confident, and like he met the investor out there last Friday. We're still waiting to hear back for sure, but he acted like very confident. And
Did
this-
the adjuster? act?
No, the
Roofer, yeah.
I mean, we'll see.
Yeah.
But, like, I also know that it was United. And I know that they have a very good experience with working with insurance companies.
That's their.
I'm dealing with that right now in my own house, although I'm trying not to deal with it. I'm making my husband deal with it.
We'll see what happens there. But
I have an active leak in my house too. I think, okay, so one of the things that agents ask me, and this is notated in here, that you are allowed to call the buyer's lender and introduce yourself and tell them that, you know, that you're under contract and that you would like to be kept in the loop of how things are going. And you may have somebody say, well, you don't need to be talking to my lender, but you do. You have every right to talk to the lender and make sure that things are moving smoothly. And then one of the things on here is before closing, gather any home warranties. And then other information about the house to leave. And this is where I put in here. Have the house empty and clean, broom swept. So that's a term that's been used for years in real estate. And then I thought this was a nice thing to do for your sellers or your new buyers, is that leave a note for the new owners telling them what you loved about the house and any phone numbers of neighbors, information about garbage pickup and dates, etc. So in here, I also have a form that I got from Bluegrass Land Title, where they have everybody, at the table, when you are having a closing there, we have a little sheet of paper that has all the information about the garage door codes and garbage pickup. And so I made one of those forms and I have it for you in here. Okay, so contract to close for the listing agent. And this is just a nice form for you to have, to make sure that you're doing everything that you need. And the very last thing, one of the things that people don't sometimes remember, clients have access to .loop as long as they can remember their login and password that they created when they first went in. But what you need to do after everything is in .loop and you've got the final paperwork in the loop, you need to send it to the client as a PDF. And in .loop, if you look down at the bottom of all the different contracts, there's a little check mark at the bottom that you can set. It says email a PDF. So they make it easy for you to do that. And that way they always have a copy of their paperwork, but they don't have to go back into .loop to get that. And the one thing that a lot of people do in order to keep in contact with their clients is that in January or maybe in early February, is to send a copy of the closing statement to your clients so that they have it and it's easy for them to have this to give to their CPA or their accountant or to do their taxes themselves. Because sometimes they don't know where they put all that paperwork because they're so excited about having a house or selling a house. And, you know, one of the things about our folders are they pretty much stand out. If they're red, even black ones, they stand out. I always say, put this in your closet on a shelf and then you'll know where your paperwork is. So, and we have those folders here. I think you all know that, but you can just come in and then we'll go on your agent bill. Let's see if there's anything I want to point out on this. Again, I put on here to contact their insurance person and their mortgage company. We used to have a form that said, I'm getting ready to sell my house. And you had to notify the mortgage company in order for them to be prepared for you to close. But anymore, that's not necessarily true. The title company, that notifies them. We're getting so many different title companies closing things that they have different practices. The other day I had one where they wanted the agent to provide the FHA statement that says that they don't have to buy it if it's doesn't appraise. And they asked the agent to do that. I thought that was really strange. So if you have a request from a title company that doesn't seem like it would be something you would be responsible for, call me and let's talk about it, because the title company did.
What did they want?
They wanted the FHA exclusionary clause that you see, because it's a separate document at closing. Usually they sign at closing. It's also signed within the contract, but they wanted them to provide a document for the closing. So, so remind sellers to bring keys, any codes and garage door openers to closing, plus identification. Have property empty. Oh, if you need to go over the closing document before closing, try to get a copy of it the 3 days, such like everybody else, the other people are getting it. And make sure you go over it with your client and make sure they understand what each one of those line items are. And if you don't feel comfortable with that, call me, somebody that can help you. I'd be happy to go over it with you, so that they understand what they're being charged for. I've found a lot of mistakes on closing documents from title companies. Particularly ones that are not familiar with Fayette County taxes. And Fayette County is different from all the other counties around here, I think. They do a fiscal year tax year, and it starts July 1 and goes through June 30th of the next year. And so a lot of title companies are not familiar with that, and they figure the tax bill wrong. So make sure that that's being figured correctly. And then the last thing, it says change the information in LBAR to sold and update information in command. If you all looked at the email I sent you on Monday about the MLS changes, they're gonna start finding people that don't turn in their solds within a certain amount of time. 48 hours. So just remember that you're responsible for turning in your solds. What are you looking at?
I did that recently. It was a complete accident, no,
Yeah,
I don't really want to do that.
yeah. So just, they're gonna start finding people. I mean, getting a fine of $100 because you didn't do something, it's not gonna be very pleasant. I don't think. So the next page is that page I set up with Bluegrass, from Bluegrass Land Title. And this is something that you have your sellers fill out and have it ready for the buyers. And that way there's not any question that they give them all that information. And anything else that they need as far as notes go. This next page is really handy for anybody that's going to be buying in the Lexington area. And this is utility pay. You need, and I went through and made sure that those numbers were updated yesterday. So the one that I found was interesting was the utilities. They have two different numbers depending on if you're LG&E or if you're KU. The 800 numbers are different. Now, there's some other areas of town, and I don't have this on here, but out in Hamburg, there is a different water company. Did you all know that? In Hamburg, the town, I sold a townhouse in Hamburg Farms. And the HOA, there's two bills out there, two HOA bills that they have to pay. One's, they tell you when you are, if you have a listing, and on their website. But then they also have a separate water company for those Hamburg Farm townhouses. And so you get that information also from the property management company. And they give you, and we had a little glitch because they wouldn't, the previous owners kept getting the water bill and they didn't change it over to the new owners. So just keep that in mind. And then I just put Spectrum, Windstream, and Metronet, but there may be other sources of cable and internet. And then not everybody gets garbage pickup in Lexington. And it can be very random. I sold a house on
My neighborhood's a great example.
Belafonte.
I live on Hildene City, Sherwood, one street over is Rumpke. And it's completely makes no sense. No, it's just totally bizarre.
Do you know that their tax rate, their tax bill is lower than yours?
Yeah, but they have to pay for that.
Yeah. So do you have garbage pickup?
Everything, city.
Really? Well, I saw that one on Glendover that you helped, you showed them. And they didn't have garbage pickup. They had to, have private
Yeah,
garbage pickup.
no, it's weird. It's-
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah,
didn't in my neighborhood, yeah.
Glendover.
I just-
Oh, no, Belafonte.
I saw the one over off of Bay Meadows not that long ago, which is kind of near like Clay's Mill.
Yeah.
and Boston Road.
A lot of
Some of those areas, yeah, gone to city.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the reason you'll see, there's a couple of private garbage pickup companies. Rumpke's one, and then there's another one. And.
I live over there by Boston Road and Winthrop, and the people on the other side of Boston Road have city pickup, but we have to pay for private pickup.
Yeah, but if you look at your PVA, it'll tell you what district you're in. And that's what you can tell your clients. If you find that on PVA, I think we have maybe 7 different districts in Fayette County. Or is it, well, it would be Fayette County, because Lexington and Fayette County are the same thing. And you can find that on PVA so that you can tell your clients. And it'll tell you what kind of services they have. Streetlights is one thing, garbage pickup, sewer. Very few people don't have sewer anymore. We used to have a problem with that,
I
but
remember when that was switched at our house in Sonoma.
yeah, oh, really? Because it was,
Kid,
it was a septic system?
it was, yeah, it was septic or they remember them putting in the sewer lines connected into the street.
And you can have some part, like I lived on Candlelight Way. And the gas line went in the street while I was living there. It was all electric when I bought it. The gas went in, and so I converted to a gas furnace immediately because it's warmer. That electric heat is not warm. So next is a contract to close for buyers. Any comments on this utilities? Anybody have any thoughts?
I'm watching the chat, so I'll let you know.
Oh, thank you.
Sure.
We can learn from each other, your experiences are valuable, I think. So here's your contract to close for buyers. Oh, I know what I was gonna tell you. So I was sitting in a closing this past year, and it's up in Fort Wright, Fort Mitchell, or Fort Thomas. So very unfamiliar with the title company, and the people were buying my listing in Georgetown, and they were selling a house in northern Kentucky to be able to buy this house. And they just closed on their house, and no, it wasn't a new one. So the closing attorney came in, and she said, "We've got a problem." I don't know, because this had been a nightmare to sell. I've had 3 contracts fall through because of some issue with the buyers. And my people had already moved. He was at the Army. And they said, your driver's license has expired. And that's the first time I've ever had that. And they said, you can't close without a valid driver's license. Did you all know that you had to have, and here's what you could do. You could have a passport, but you have to have a government issued ID. So I lost my driver's license. And I went to pick up a prescription yesterday at Kroger, and they almost didn't give it to me because I didn't have my driver's license. They said, next time you come, you have to have a government issued ID. And a passport would do that. I have a passport. I'm flying to Florida on Friday, guys.
You need your passport for that.
I'm gonna take my
I guess
passport.
You don't have your license.
So here's what I did.
Depends on what kind of
This is a
license
learning experience from your broker. So I applied for my new driver's license, sent them a check, filled out the paperwork. And I picked 2 boxes, which I shouldn't have done. It said I've lost my driver's license or it's been stolen. I checked that. And then it said something about I wanted a 4-year. I had a 4-year one, so I wanted a 4-year. So I checked that box. Well, you know, government paperwork is ridiculous. I mean, it's just ridiculous. They sent it back because I checked that second box. That I wanted a 4-year license. And I paid for it, gave them $24. And they sent it back and they said, no, you don't qualify because your license hasn't expired. So now I have no driver's license. And I'm gonna fly on Friday, so, and I did get a real license.
Real ID.
I get real ID.
Real ID.
And so, so I signed up for, going out to the DMV
Yeah.
on Thursday at 3:30, and hopefully I'll have a driver's license then. But not having a driver's license, what do people do? They just get a government issued ID or something.
Not to give you that, you get the temporary one, won't you? Yeah, you'll get a piece of paper that's a temporary ID.
That's right, yay.
Yeah.
Myrna,
Yes,
they
ma'am.
will, they say they don't take walk-ins, but they will take walk-ins.
I know, I've walked in, but I have an
Okay.
appointment. I do have an
Okay.
appointment. I may
All
try
right.
to go earlier and do it, but keep in mind, and I meant to have something in here about checking your ID to make sure that it hasn't, because a lot of people forget about their driver's license. Yeah, right, you are not notified.
This actually happened to my husband and I when we were buying in 2020. His license had just expired. I want to say it was like either a week or 2 weeks prior to closing, because we were just, again, it was in 2020, so COVID had made all of us lose our absolute minds, and it had been a very, very, very stressful buying period. So we weren't thinking about making sure our licenses were our driver's license were updated. Mine was fine, but his wasn't. And we go to the bank to get the money taken out, and the bank is like, sorry, we can't do that. And what blew my mind more than anything, granted, there's some accountability here. Yes, we should have been paying attention, but on the same token, the individuals that we had to the other bank that we were using to get the loan out of, they grilled us horrendously on making sure that all of our paperwork and everything was right. And it's like, how did you're doing the closing? How did you also miss that this driver's license is going to be expired when you asked us to send it to you like 3 and 4 different times? I don't know. So now I'm just hyper vigilant about everything. Is your license valid? Is this valid? Is this valid? So also learned from a very, very upsetting experience.
Thanks for sharing that. So we have things on our phones that can remind us. So you can go ahead in your calendar and just put a reminder in that this has to be done by a certain date. So that I would recommend people doing that with their driver's license. I think
Hey, Myrna, fun fact. If you take your kid to get his driver's license and yours is expired, they won't let you do it. And your kid gets really mad.
Is that a personal experience?
A little bit.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, this guy's a lot more fun than Ignite has all that stuff. So, all right. Now the next one is for the buyer's agent. Again, the very last thing I put on here is to make sure that you send the buyer all the documents in PDF. And it's a very easy thing to do. You just gotta make sure you just make a little check mark at the bottom of the page. See if there's anything I haven't mentioned already. You can have your clients check appraisals, make sure that they've been scheduled. One of the things I'm doing with whenever you have a client that's dealing with family, particularly estates, and you know that there's other people involved in the house, I always get an independent appraisal on the house. And I'm doing that on this particular townhouse. And because for one thing, I couldn't comp it. There's nothing sold. Nothing has sold in that area in the last 2 years. Except for 2 units that were not arm's length transactions. Do you all understand what that means? You know, we see that a lot, arm's length transaction. You have to put it on your closing,
I like to keep him arms.
arm's length, and then these were not arm's length. And that means that they were sold to families. So the price is always a little bit different when you are working with properties that are transferred within a family. So I had 2 that were way undersold, under market. And I couldn't use those to comp because she wants as much as she can get from this one, because she's going into an independent living situation. And I'm sure that that's not cheap. If you all haven't looked into it, it can be
So much per month.
Up.
That's insane.
$5,000 to $10,000 a month.
Yeah, the one in Frankfurt is $9,500 a month.
I have some friends that are there.
That I used at Ashwood or at Dominican.
I think it's Ashwood.
Yeah.
Include like the food.
Is that the one with the cottages?
Yes, that's Ashwood.
Yeah, that's where my friend's wife is.
We'll have to chat about that. 'Cause I
I'd
was
say
there since-
Oh, really? He just bought one of the cottages.
I love that.
Can any of that be covered by insurance or is it?
Part-
Long-term health insurance that people took out or did, they used to try to get me to take it out. I instead kept teaching and then retired with a pension.
Yeah. My dad's mentioned the basement.
Yes, and he needs to check into, I told him about that. He needs to check into it because I'm not sure if it continues after he's gone. Because it's a chunk of money
Yeah,
and
he basically makes almost what he was making when he worked. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
I know, well, I do too.
Yeah.
And so, but my husband's not gonna get it.
You just fill your bathtub up with cash every night and just kind of just.
Sort of. You all profit share. How much, what else do I need to say?
I know.
Profit share. I never thought about it. I didn't come into Keller Williams thinking, oh boy, I'm gonna have profit share. I didn't even know profit share.
You're welcome, Myrna.
It goes in.
That's great.
What did you say, Philip?
Get it on ground
One of
floor.
the help started the office.
Well, I was, yes, I am. And well, I was very fortunate because I had a little boutique real estate company called Downing Street Realty. And I had 5 or 6 agents. And those agents came with me to start Keller Williams. And that started my downline. And I have gotten as much as almost $10,000 in 1 month. Now, I'm not getting that right now,
What's how much you got in a year?
$50,000. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, it is awesome.
Got about 150.
What's that?
Got about 150 a year.
Oh, $150. Well, I'm not getting that right now, so we've got to build our company back up. So, but I still get a nice check every month that I can't complain about. So I appreciate everybody that's in my downline. A whole bunch of you all probably are in my downline. I have 450 agents in my downline. And the only thing that you can do is your first line, because you don't have any, you have nothing to do with the rest of the downline. It's just the people that you recruit or bring into the office. To share what you've learned and what we are talking about right now is you're going to be a better real estate agent than a whole lot of people out there that are practicing real estate because you are taking the time to learn about what the best practices are. And all the things that we're sharing here make you one of the better agents that people are going to want to use and build your business up. But anyway, yes, I feel very blessed and I never knew that I would be getting that kind of thing when I started selling real estate. And so
It's
this,
awesome.
so this student, former teacher yesterday said, yeah, I'm gonna be looking for a job this summer. He said, he said, I'm subbing right now. And he said, oh, it's so easy because you just go in and you're there till the bell rings and then you just walk out and you don't have to do, you don't grade papers and you don't do any lesson plans. And I said, well, have you thought about being a real estate agent? And he said, no, but I think I'd like to check into that. And I said, well, you know what? I can help you get into a school to get your real estate license. He goes, oh, I'll call you. So that sometimes that, I mean, that's just the way it happens. It's not something you just think about or you go out and search for people unless you're Aaron Kaufman. I don't know if any of you all been aware of Aaron Kaufman, but if you're interested in profit share and you want to learn more about it, Aaron Kaufman is the guy you want to follow on Facebook. And that's all he does is he recruits to Keller Williams. He doesn't sell real estate. He recruits. And last month, he showed he always posts his check on Facebook. And last month he had like, I think what was $3,600 in profit share. Doesn't sell real estate. He bought land in Puerto Rico and he's building a house there. And that he's going to retire to Puerto Rico. He will get profit share as long as he's alive. And his kids will get it. My son will inherit my profit share. So he's just waiting for me to pick the bucket.
That's not true.
Okay, the next handout is the best practices for, okay. So I sent this out to everybody this week. And this is from ABR. This is another designation, accredited buyer representative. And this is one of their newsletters. And this is something that would help you with your explanation to your buyers on why it's in the best practice for you and your buyer to have an agreement between the two of you. And that's your buyer representative agreement. So there are states right now that require this. Apparently, I think I read that there's like, it's on here, 18 states right now that require a buyer representative agreement. I think it'll happen in Kentucky eventually. I am also licensed as a broker in the state of Ohio. If any of you all are interested in selling in Ohio. We have a little satellite office in Portsmouth, Ohio. It's a mega agent office. Michelle Uten is the agent there with her team, and she needed a broker, and so I somehow foolishly told Michael that I would get a broker's license in Ohio. They require a college class, and it was Ohio law, and so in 2022 I spent 2 months.
Back to school.
I went back to school in my 70s.
Is that like University of Cincinnati? Where did you have to do that?
Online.
Online?
And through, I can't remember now, it was a college.
Yeah.
And had to pass the law class to get my broker's license. I passed it, and thank you. And I am now a broker in Ohio, and they are very different in the way they practice real estate. And I was looking at their consumer guide, and they do sub-agency. Does anybody know what sub-agency is?
Sub-agents.
That's the way, when I started selling real estate, we all did sub-agency.
Is that when, like, if somebody in your office represents this salary, then everybody does?
Exactly. And in Ohio, if you represent a buyer, all the agents in your office represent the buyer. And if you represent a seller, everybody in the office represents the seller. I can't even fathom how that would work right now with our office, but we don't do that in Kentucky. Kentucky is we are a designated agency office. That means as the broker, I designate you to work with a buyer. I designate you to work with the seller. You are allowed to do dual agency, but we're gonna, on one of the pages in this Ignite book, it talks about dual agency being highly unrecommended. And I really don't think an agent that's under a year of experience should even think about doing dual agency. Because in actuality, dual agents have to walk such a fine line. Now, I did it, and I do it reluctantly, but sometimes it's the only way that a transaction is gonna work very well. But like that, I was a dual agent, like, with a whole bunch of people.
If you ever struggle with that, I'm happy
I
to
did.
take care of this now. This and
All right, good to know, thank you.
Yep.
And I forgot to tell her to get homeowners insurance, and it may have been because I was a dual agent, so anyway. But I don't know where the page is, but I memorized everything in here that I needed to talk to you all about, so. But I wanted to give you something concrete to take away from this class that will help you in your real estate world. So in this best practices, you want to make sure that when you're explaining the buyer, the buyer representative agreements, that you read it to them and you explain everything that's in the handout or in the form. And then you also discuss how that you can terminate this. And one of the things that I was talking to Maria Ganas about, she said that when she was using it on a regular basis, if someone said, I really don't want to sign that, I don't want you to be my buyer's representative, I want you to just fill out the contract for me. Then you get them to sign rejected on the buyer's representative agreement and put it in the file so that you can verify that you did offer that to them and they rejected it. And I think that's a really good idea. Another thing so we don't see this as much now, although I'm seeing sellers offer money toward closing or something on some of the properties that hadn't been selling. But the slacks one says dispose any bonus or additional compensation you're offered. Oh, I know what. I had someone call me and say, what if the seller offers to pay the buyer's commission, the buyer's agent commission, and the buyer offers to pay the buyer's commission? Do they get to get both of them?
I don't know, I think that the contract says you're getting X% of the contract sale, and you can't get that twice, then it would be double, right?
If you have a listing and there's an offer of compensation to the buyer's agent, which we see on the MLS as part of the MLS clear cooperation from DAR, that they have to tell us what it is. If you all notice on the changes, they can offer 0 now. What if the seller says that they'll pay it and then the buyer also says, I'll pay your commission?
Why would the buyer say that? If the seller was gonna pay it?
Well, you're getting both sides anyway, so that's the 3. Is that what you're talking about? Basically, what we do is the 3 and the 3, so you would get the 6 because you're representing both anyway, right?
No, I'm not talking about.
Am I wrong? Okay.
She's not talking about it.
I'm not talking about.
You're not talking about dual agent. Okay.
I'm not. I'm talking about a buyer, client saying we'll pay you 3% in the buyer's representative agreement, and a seller saying I'll pay 3% to the buyer's agent.
But in the buyer's record agreement, it says that you would seek your compensation from the
First,
seller.
on seller's brokerage.
So the buyer wouldn't have to pay you unless the seller.
Right. All right, right.
Is that what you're?
That's what I'm
That's
talking
the
about.
correct
Yeah.
terminology.
Correct answer.
I guess I thought if it was all disclosed to every party, they could if they wanted to, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So working in that.
So
buyer-
Myrna, I didn't hear the answer.
Paid first.
In your buyer's representative agreement, it says that they'll get it from the seller.
Right.
And if not from the seller, then the buyer will pay it. So you're disclosing that up front.
Oh,
So
okay.
the buyer would not have to pay that 3% or whatever the percentage is.
Right.
Okay. Okay, the next handout is also from the ABR. And I think I said this on one of my emails this week, is one of the things you all should probably try to do this year is to get a designation if you haven't gotten them. They really are valuable. You learn so much from the classes that you take that just make you just that much more of an asset to your clients. But these are 5 or 10 financial actions to avoid during the home buying process for the buyer. And this is things that happen that people, you find out that they don't listen to you or you don't tell them. So here's some handout for you to put in your buyer's presentation. Don't apply for new credit. Don't run up credit card balances. Don't change jobs or careers. Don't co-sign for somebody else. Don't make large purchases. Don't go out and finance a new sofa or.
Ashley says such great deals.
Ashley, you can't find, because it's hidden in the back of the place.
Like a barn.
Yeah, it's hard to find. Later missed payments. Closing credit accounts. People think, okay, I'm gonna pay off my credit card and I'm gonna close that account. And what that does is that you have a certain amount of credit that's being offered to you based on your credit history. And it could be, I don't know, if you have a home mortgage and then you have credit cards, it could be $500,000. Well, you close one of those credit cards and let's say you've got a $10,000 credit.
Yes, coming in, I'm gonna send us a doc 10.
Did you?
Just hit mute all.
We're good, buddy. Back smoking. What is that? Sounds like a.
Anyway, it cuts down on the amount of credit that you have available to you and it lowers your credit score. So just keep that in mind. You don't close credit card accounts. You just leave them dormant or whatever.
Yeah.
If you don't use them, I just had dealers close mine and because I just never used it. And I got a letter saying if you don't use it pretty soon, you're gonna lose it. No, just don't use it. Changing bank accounts are undisclosed debts or liabilities and large cash deposits. If they see, and they're gonna check your bank account. And if you have a big cash deposit goes into your account, it's a red flag to them. Where'd this come from? You have to have a paper trail for all the money that comes into your account once you start the process of getting a loan. So just keep that in mind and make sure your buyers understand that. So this is from something that Keller Williams put together, your guide to buying a home. And this is just something that I've given to my buyers for years that help them understand the buying process. So.
Hey, Myrna,
Yeah,
can we go back to the money for just a second?
let's do it.
So I have a real life, don't do this.
Okay, love these real life stories.
Yeah, this was me, not a client.
Okay,
The day after we bought our house, thankfully, the day after,
yeah,
I moved money from the money market account to our back to our savings account. So we wouldn't have any, like no money in our savings, except I didn't move the money. I bought 10,000 shares instead of transferring $10,000. So I overdrew our bank account $10,000. And our financial advisor, we had a meeting with him and he's like, oh, you guys are doing great. You have all this money in your money market account. And we were like, what are you talking about? We just took it all out. And he's like, no, you didn't. You just bought 10,000 shares. And I was like, no, I took $10,000 out. Nope.
Was it just the wrong clip? Like how was it just confusing on their website? Like, how did that happen?
Yep. Wrong click.
Wrong clip.
oh my God.
One button.
Jeez.
So like,
So if
And they
we
didn't,
had
like,
done that the
give you
day
another
before
chance to
closing or the
verify.
day of, we wouldn't have been able to buy our house.
what did you do about that?
Well, I cried first and had a little panic attack, and then I called the bank and they said we can't do anything on our end. So I called my financial advisor back and he said they can fix it, but it's going to take a couple days. So I had a line of credit open for some reason, and I took $10,000 out of the line of credit and put it in our account until the money came through. They took all the fees off, and I ended up paying $8 in interest. But I tell my clients that story so that I'm
Yeah.
like, don't move money around. Don't do anything. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200.
What would those 10,000 shares be worth today, Cheyenne?
I don't know. Maybe I should have left it.
Yeah, yeah, because the stock market has rebounded a little bit, I think, so. Yeah, yeah.
On this list, as a former banker for many years,
Yes,
people don't realize that stuff is still updated throughout the process.
oh, yeah,
They think once you give them, I work here, this is blah, blah, blah.
right,
I'm giving you everything. They don't realize if we're gonna go back and update stuff towards the end, because we've had that before where we've updated verification of employment
employment,
and they're gone.
yeah,
We're like, what do you mean you've gone? I quit my job.
yeah,
Well, guess what?
yeah,
Now you're homeless.
Yeah, you're almost, and that happened.
yeah, don't change jobs, don't
That's
quit your,
just the
don't
great
quit, because even if you get what he's saying is they verify your employment the day before closing. So even if they verified it a bit earlier, and I've had them call the office here, and I'll be the one who answers the phone, and they're verifying me. I go, yeah, she's here, no problem. All right, good stuff. So, this is all about getting a mortgage in the loan process. And hopefully they have started that before you start showing them houses. If you get them as close to being pre-approved as you can, that means that they pulled their credit and they verified their income and their employment. And that puts them that further along.
We discussed this today with my other classes to make sure that if you get a pre-approval letter, that the letter says pre-approval.
Exactly.
Not pre-qualified.
Yes, there's a difference between pre-qualified and pre-approved. Pre-qualified means that they probably have pulled their credit and they've listened to them state their income, but they haven't verified it. And so a pre-approval is that they verified the income and they pulled credit and maybe and maybe employment too. Yeah. So the next one is making, so there's the mortgage loan process and then making an offer. So this is, I had an agent one time who was covering for me, and she was working with one of my listings, I think. And here it says you can accept the offer, reject the offer, or counter the offer with changes. And she had my seller counter two different offers at the same time. She said, well, one of them's gonna work. I said, well, what if they both accept? You can't do that. You can't have there's only one house to sell. You can't have the seller counter two different offers and hope, to see which one's gonna work. So.
I just had clients who wrote an offer a couple weeks ago on a nice townhome at just above the asking price. And as I was talking to the listing agent, he's like, yeah, they just rejected a full price offer yesterday. I'm like, so you listed it at X amount and you got an offer for that and they didn't take it. He's like, yeah, like, so what are we supposed to do? Like, of course we didn't get it because we ended up giving more than they offered.
Well, a lot of agents I think that what this listing agent on Drayton did, she underpriced the house just to bring the price up. With 40 showings, how many offers do you think she got above list? A lot. So
I have a house going live this Friday, Thursday night. It's gonna do the same thing.
Are you going to list it?
It's gonna be listed at 255, and I think.
Oh,
that
yeah.
it's gonna- Yeah, well, they decided to go up. We chatted again and bumped it 5,000.
And you think it's under market then?
I think it's probably right around. I think because
I think you have priced really well for what you told me about.
they've repainted everything. It's in excellent shape, clean and neat. It's a 3-bedroom, 3 full bathroom, 1.5 car garage. It's actually a 2-car garage, but an addition is in the garage. That's the master. So you have a garage plus storage. It's in really good shape. Great location, Toronto Road. It's gonna fly off the shelf.
Yeah, yeah. So my new buyer is looking for 10 acres or less, sort of, with a 3-2 and a garage in the Sadieville area, that corridor from there to Corinth and there. And I found a few things to see, but I probably should put that out to the office. So a seller can accept an offer, reject it, or counter the offer with changes. Or they can do nothing. A seller can just absolutely do nothing. And that's probably not the best thing for them. And I would counsel them not to do that. But in our market, with it being a seller's market, it's definitely still a seller's market here. So the next handout is closing 101. You should get prepared for it. Good, again, that checklist that I gave you should help you with this. Certified check. Oh, I had a funny thing happen with one of my clients. They thought they knew more about selling a house than they did. They told me that they were getting ready to close and they hadn't gotten their closing statement yet. And they said, well, we've already got our check ready for closing. And I went, how did you know how much to bring to closing? And they said, well, we know how much we're going to pay for the house or something. And so I said, did you get the closing document from the title company? And they said, no. And they had gone out and gotten a check, certified check for the amount that they wanted to pay for the house and not what it was going to cost them to buy the house. So we had another little conversation. So in the Ignite book, one of the things I highlighted when I was going through this is the most critical thing for you with your buyers and your sellers is communication. That you give them what they need and you show them what's going to happen. You prepare them in advance. And we'll talk about being a fiduciary here in a minute. So then an insurance binder and paid receipt, and that's part of what you would have to have if you're going to be financing it. That's going to be taken care of through the lender. If they're paying cash, you got to remind them to get homeowners insurance. A photo ID, government issued, and then your social security numbers, and not one that's expired. And then this is just a little checklist of things to remind them to take care of, things that people you want to contact, things that you're changing. One of the things that you change when, as a real estate agent, is you've got to make sure that you change your address at KREC, because that you have to pay to do that. And you have to make sure they have your most current mailing address. Then you want to make sure that you have contacted all your different insurance companies, Internal Revenue Service. Yeah, they're gonna find you. The post office, of course, is a good way to do that. And of course, online now you can change your address, which makes it a little bit more. It makes it easier. Then this is how will you tell me about new homes? Of course, we have subscriptions that we can set up. Is everybody familiar with subscriptions and Flex? You feel comfortable doing those?
They're key.
What?
They're very important.
Yeah, yeah. You look, are you?
Yeah, honestly.
Okay.
He always was confused. It's okay.
You're hard on him. Will you inform me of homes from all real estate companies? So when I took Bold one year, we worked on a script and I don't have it in here for you, but Katie Lane and I perfected a script for sale by owners that worked really well. And one of the things that when you're doing your buyer representative agreement, one of the things you need to tell them is, if I have a contract with you, this allows me to share all this information with you that I get through my MLS and with I'm gonna look for houses that are not just on the MLS. I'm gonna look for sale by owners for you. I'm gonna drive around neighborhoods, and if we find a house, I'll write the letter to the seller and ask them if they're selling their house. So this is one of the things that it has worked for me in the past. I've sent out letters to whole neighborhoods and said, I have a buyer, and I don't do this if I don't have a buyer.
Right.
But because that can come back to bite you. But if I have a buyer and they go, I want this area, I'll get the addresses and send a letter saying, and I just got one of those at my house from somebody that's an agent that was trying to find a house in Andover Forest. And so that's a good way to
Have one out there sometime here this year.
a listing. I've got somebody that asked me about getting into the neighborhood.
Yeah, it's a great house. It's probably listed for $550 each. It's in the back of the neighborhood, almost to the park.
I need to know about that.
I'm not sure when they're gonna be ready to pull the trigger on it. They've
Okay.
been pondering. We looked at a house end of last year, but they weren't ready to take she's going through Lyme disease treatment right now, which is pretty awful. She had Lyme disease for years and didn't realize it. And it was just
From a tick bite?
diagnosed at the end of the past year, so she's on a month-long antibiotic regimen, and it's just rips you apart. It's pretty harsh, and so she's getting better. And once she's through that, I think they're going to be in position to make the move. But it's probably going to list for $550. It's about 3,600 square feet. Really, your check house backs up to the old golf course.
Yeah, that's nice. That's going to be an arboretum eventually. They
Yeah.
just planted a whole bunch of trees on Helmsdale, and they got city grants to pay for the tree planting.
It's a great space.
I was gonna say, I did something similar to that a couple of years ago, like, but I had buyers looking for something specific in a certain price range, and I went back. This may not work that well right now, but like, I went back to like anything that had expired in the past year that fit their criteria, and I sent letters to all those people. And I did have somebody contact me. By the time somebody contacted me, my buyer already found something else, but I ended up listing their house. They bought something else, referred me to a friend who bought something, and that friend referred me to her sister who sold and bought. So from one letter, I got like 5 transactions.
Wow. Did everybody on the Zoom hear that?
No.
He sent a letter to expireds in an area that his buyers were looking for. And the buyers ended up buying something else. But from those letters that he sent, he got 5 transactions from one client that listed a house, referred him to somebody else, who referred him to somebody else. So those letters to neighborhoods can really be valuable to get more to lead generate. All right. Will you help me find new construction? That's one way for you to work with buyers. How does for sale by owners work? You want to talk to them about that? Can we go back through our property again once an offer is made, but before possession? If you can do that. And once my offer is accepted, what should I do? So we've gotten a checklist for all that information. Then this next handout I got is from something I found on the internet, but it's to explain what to expect from a home inspection. I think that's really helpful. Thank you. Hope it helps you.
It does always.
How to read a home inspection report and what things you can expect from it, and how you can respond to certain things. And when you would need to let them know that an inspector's there to find every little problem. You're paying them for doing that. And if they came back and said, no, this house is great, no problem whatsoever. And you're gonna think that maybe they didn't spend much time finding things in a house. I had that one time. It's from Larry Seals. I don't know if you all know Larry, but he's one of the pickiest inspectors out there, I think. And actually, I used him to inspect my house before I put it on the market one time. And then I went through his inspection report, and I fixed everything on the report before I put it on the market. And the people that bought my house didn't even have an inspection. They just took the inspection I put out for them. But what was I gonna say about him? Oh, so I was selling, I had buyers that were buying this house, and then we were in a very tight market, and this was a house that they really, really wanted. And so he sat down at the table to explain the home inspection, and he goes, I couldn't find one thing wrong with this house. I've never had that. And then he went, except, he said, the furnace has a cracked heat exchanger. I don't know if you all know what that means, but it means that you're gonna have to replace the furnace. Did they replace it? Yeah. There's no choice in that. It's that you have to replace the furnace. Well, it was Suzanne Elliott had the listing. Suzanne's a great agent, and she's been around forever. She's the #1 agent at the modeling. And she called me one day and she said, Myrna, they don't want to sell a house. And I said, oh, really? And is everybody can hear me? Because this is a pretty
Yes.
interesting story. I said,
Yeah, we can hear you.
okay. I said, Suzanne, I said, they really want this house and they're under contract. And it was, there was a binding contract. And she said, they just have changed their mind. And I said, I'm sorry. I said, I think my people won't let them out of this offer. And they weren't going to let them out. And then they had the home inspection. And that's when Larry came back and said, there's a crack in the heat exchanger. And so I had, we talked about it and they said, we don't care. We're still going to buy the house. And the seller said, we're not putting a new furnace in. They said, we don't care. We're still going to buy the house. So they bought the house and had to put a new furnace in. And they kept that house through 2 furnaces. And they ended up selling it a few years ago. I sold it for them, but they weren't going to let them out. And I can't remember the closing. It's been so long ago. I mean, for it to be, they must have lived there 20 years, I've only been selling houses, for 40, so. Anyway, so you want to prepare your buyers for getting the home inspection. And this little handout goes over a whole lot of good information about what to expect. It tells them about how they rate certain things, and how much it's going to cost them. And these are the little things that they explains different designations. That tells them about pictures that they're going to have. And I just had a home inspection last year. Oh, here's what: be present for the inspection, but not at the beginning. Come toward the end, because the inspector doesn't want them to be walking around with them and interfering with them doing the home inspection. And then if they find something that they want more information about, then that's when they should bring in somebody that's licensed into certain areas. For example, the HVAC, plumbing, and electrical, because home inspectors are not necessarily licensed professionals in those areas. So this is a handout about getting a doctor's loan. I've had some people ask me about that lately, so I stuck that in there. Several of our loan officers, I think Dawn with the Republic also does doctor's loans. Doctor's loans are 100% financing with no PMI. So they don't have to, it's a great loan, and they figure that a doctor's gonna make enough money that they can afford to finance a house. I just saw one.
I have a veterinarian, she just got out of college and she bought a house in Georgetown and she qualified for this too. They're doing everything third, so they're.
For veterinarian.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just sold one to an ER doctor, and I had sold him my house when he was an intern. And then he's an ER doctor now, so a little bit different.
But they consider that doctor, so they can.
Oh, yeah, he got 100% financing, and he went through. Oh, SoFi. I never knew that SoFi did mortgages, and it was a real smooth transaction. The loan officer was right on top of things and worked with me and kept me up informed. They had a hard time with insurance though, because SoFi was very picky about getting the house insured, and they had to go and take drone pictures of the roof, and they did it. They had a drone. I don't know how they. I mean, they would have to hire somebody, but they asked them to do it. But they had to go and get a drone video of the roof of their house. So they were hoping that they had hail damage and could get a new roof because they went into a black roof. Anyway, the roof was fine. I also put this in here, and I do have that in dot loop. It's why you need owner's title insurance. What I'm seeing more and more are title companies automatically put it on the closing document, and it's a line item for the buyers that they have to buy it. And then the mortgage company, it's a secondary on it, which it used to be the other way around, and it was optional. It's still optional for your clients, but it's recommended that they do go ahead and take title insurance. The next page is my personal list of inspectors. And one of the ones I wanted to point out to you that I don't know if he's still doing that or not. And this is really something that you need to take to heart, because I've had a personal experience with it. But Clay Hoskins with CHC Inspections offered free sewer camera inspections with home inspection in November and December. I don't know if he's still doing it, but if you are selling a property that was built, I would say in the 60s or 70s, you should advise your clients to have a sewer inspection, because these clay pipes or these galvanized pipes are breaking down and causing lots of problems with the sewer line. The house that I saw was probably built in the 60s on Belafonte, and he did a camera inspection, and it was clogged, and it was there was a blockage somehow, and they chose to have it cleaned out, and the seller cleaned it out again. But he did notate on the home inspection that he had to have that sewer line cleaned out once a year. It is about $1,500 to have the clean out done. And eventually that sewer line is going to have to be replaced. But he said the people wanted this house, and they were okay with dealing with it themselves, which was unusual. But some of these inspectors also do radon, and some of them do mold inspections. Usually that's at an additional cost. Matt Adams is a structural engineer by degree. And so a lot of people like to have that as an inspector. But I have used all of these people, or had agents in our office use them and recommend them. I always put on this that this is not an extensive list. I tell my buyers, talk to your friends, see who they use, see if they were happy. You can go on to Bluegrass Realtors on the affiliate page, and you could find a whole list of additional home inspectors that are affiliated with our association. And some of it, I don't know if everybody got this, but I've sent this out several times. This is something you want to have handy also when you're writing your marketing remarks. Make sure that when you are listing, when you're working or with a listing, that you talk about the property and not the people that are gonna live in it. That's when you get in trouble. So you wanna just highlight the attributes of the property. Back on our Ignite pages, you don't have a manual, do you, with Ignite? One of the pages in there talks about functionary and fiduciary. And we become a fiduciary when we have a client, whether they they live with us, we are a fiduciary. And if they sign a buyer's representative agreement, we become a fiduciary. And so those are the things that you talk to your clients about, that is a value for them as well if they sign a buyer's representative agreement. And then one thing I wanted to bring up is the dual agency. So if dual agencies, so there are states that don't allow agents to do dual agency. It's illegal in some states. But it is legal in Kentucky. And what they are saying is it's not advisable, especially as a new agent. Many infractions that endanger an agent's license stem from this practice. Being in a fiduciary relationship with your client means making all decisions based on their best interest alone. This is challenging when you're working for two parties with competing interests. How do you tell a seller that they should accept a certain offer? And then you tell your buyers, you want the best deal for your buyers and you want the best deal for your sellers. So you really do walk a very, very fine line when you are representing both parties. And the ones I've done, it works out that I think that I did the best for both of them because I was able to, usually I can adjust my commission to make it a better deal for the seller and a better deal for the buyer. And that's about the only thing you can do to make it so that it's a win-win for everybody. So will your buyer expect that you're telling them everything about a house, even items that may not be required to be disclosed? Or will your seller expect that the offer you're making on behalf of your buyers is their best offer since you have knowledge of their pre-approval amount and finances? So it is tricky, and I don't recommend it for anybody that's not really experienced and able to go back on their experience on doing that. Oh, one of the things that they point out is, are you really ready to prepare to negotiate against yourself? So you're going to be in negotiating inspections and things for the seller and the buyer. So they have to come to some kind of agreement. And sometimes it's not going to be in one or the other's favor. So that's one of the things that they point out in the Ignite manual. Let's see if there's something else I want to bring up to you. Any questions about any of these handouts?
I have one about title insurance.
That's a lot of stuff. Okay, let's hear.
I've not recommended that to people because I don't really understand it very well. Like, I don't have a good example to give. Like, this is why you need it, like this can happen. But like, what does it typically cost them? And then like, I don't know how to present that.
Okay, let's go back and look at that handout then.
The lender did that, so I didn't know the lender did that, but I was maybe
No, the lender should explain it.
the title insurance. Okay.
Yes. And it is based on the loan now. Did you ever explain it to people when you were a banker?
Oh, yeah, but, it was, I've done it, but we didn't do title insurance. We didn't, for the buyer.
You didn't? Well, it is for the buyer.
Yeah,
So 10 important reasons why you need owner's title insurance, right on this printout right here. Guys, we're talking about title insurance. You go back to that. So here's the 20 reasons why you need owner's title insurance. Forgery. So we had a situation where, it was, I guess, considered forgery, but, one of our agent's sellers said they never signed the exclusive right to sell in Dotloop, that somebody else was using their computer and signed it. And that they didn't owe a commission. And we didn't fight that because going to court for things is expensive. I don't know that title insurance would have covered that, but if you had, one of the scenarios that I've heard about is where somebody comes in to sell a property and they are husband and wife, supposedly couple, and they sign the documents and they leave and they think that the house is sold. It turns out that the woman wasn't really the wife, but she was signing the documents and they were forged. And a real wife didn't approve of the sale. So that would be a situation where owner's title insurance would come into play. You can, how they will explain, how it's been explained to me is that, let's say somebody said, I never gave up my title to this property and I want to be compensated, or I want the property. So owner's title insurance would make you whole and give you the money that you would have invested in this property. If somebody did that and they won in court, if you had to take it to court. So the big thing is, because we're doing more and more development and they're buying these land with these farms, horse farms, cattle farms, whatever around in this area, central Kentucky. If they find out that there's an heir that never gave up their right to these properties, then total owner's title insurance would protect anybody that buys property in these developments. Fraud in the execution of documents, which I've talked about, undue influence on a grantor of a deed. Let's see, an older person has found that they are being forced to sell something that they didn't want to sell. And then they went back and said, I never agreed to this and I was being told I had to. So they would be compensated by the title insurance. Philip?
So in a situation where there were two sellers and the wife, who was not really the wife, signed, did she have a fake ID?
I don't know the whole scenario. I just heard that.
And then if after the fact, if it closed.
Well, that would be forgery or fraud.
So they'll probably go to jail, but then the real wife came and she was like, I didn't wanna sell this property.
Right.
Like, what would happen?
Well, one of two things probably. Either they would get the property back from the people that did that, or she would be given a sum of money that's determined to be the value of the property.
Back, like, would title insurance help cover the buyer's expenses to like stay somewhere?
Maybe. I've never had a situation where I had somebody use title insurance.
He recommended.
I'm not gonna tell you that I recommend it, but I will I won't say you don't need this. I don't ever say that in a situation.
Right.
Don't say you don't need to do that. You don't need to pay for that. Just let.
Needing title insurance for like that reason. They're being like, someone fraudulently would sign this.
Well, you don't check a marriage license. You don't look into people and make sure that they're actually married to each other. I mean, we don't verify that. I guess lenders or title companies don't ask for a marriage license, but they ask for their driver's license. Did you have a question? You raised your hand.
I thought that the mortgage company had their own insurance, so that the only time you really should get, well, I'm not telling people this, but the only time you really should get title insurance is if it's cash.
Well, definitely, if you pay cash for a property, I do recommend it at that time. Because they would lose all of the money. If you only put 5% or 10% down, then that's all the money you're gonna lose. And if you lost the house, that would be your damages. But if you go in and pay cash for a property, and if you pay cash on the title companies I deal with, you know, it's the ones that are in Lexington particularly, Foundation, Bluegrass, Clear Title, all the different land group, they are gonna put that on the closing document if it's cash, no matter what, it's gonna be right there on it, and unless the buyer says, I don't want that. And the buyer can say that, they can say, I don't want titles insurance, and they'll take it off of the closing document. But you need to give your buyers this document, and it's in Dotloop. But I would be giving buyers this to look at, to say, you're gonna be offered it at closing. You have 30 days after closing to take it out. So,
I've seen most title companies are including owner's title policy automatically. See, you have to don't.
yes,
The difference in lenders and owner's title insurance, the lender's title insurance is just covering their butt. Right. It has nothing to do with the owner. The owner has to pay for it at closing.
that's right.
But it's just covering the lender's interest in the property, not the owner's.
That's correct. False impersonation by someone purporting to be the owner of the property, which I just put it said, errors in surveys. I just had a client, agent call me. Closed on a property a couple weeks ago. The buyer decided to have a survey, put a fence up after the closing. And they found out that there was a section of the property that had a swing set on it that actually didn't belong to that property, that it belonged to the neighbor. And he's calling me saying they're upset and thinking that somebody should have figured that out before closing. Somebody. Okay, who was that somebody supposed to be? The buyer. And it says in our contract that if you have any doubts about what the property lines, the boundaries, or anything, you should get a pin and stake survey prior to closing and pay for it. And this buyer didn't do that. And then they wanted to come back on the seller and say, well, you should have told us that this wasn't part of the property. The seller was a flipper, didn't get a survey, and probably had no idea that property didn't belong to that particular house. Yes,
Is that in the new and old contract?
I'm pretty sure it is. We're gonna have a class on the new contract again, February 21st. Crystal's gonna go over it with you all, and Elbar is having it, I think, once a week practically on Zoom classes to help you all with the new offer. I haven't used it myself yet, so I am not really a good one to help you with it right now, but I'm pretty sure. Yes,
Did they make a deadline?
well, there's no deadline. They can't mandate that we use it. We can tell you all to use it and think that it's the best practice. I keep forgetting how this works, but the new contract seems to protect the seller better. And the old one is better for the buyer. Is that what, I think that's what we kind of figured out. But
Yeah, with the new one, it's much harder for the buyer to get out of the contract and keep their earnings after the due diligence period.
yes, on the old one, pretty much the buyer could get their money back at their escrow. Anybody using the new offer purchase yet? No,
That's what I need to.
Shelley
know
is-
if they're-
Shelley likes it now, I think.
Yeah, she really likes it, and I have read through it quite a bit, and,
But I'm pretty sure it still says that they are advised to have a pin and stake survey. Thanks for coming.
I've used it.
I don't know where they are.
They're here, right?
I don't know.
Okay.
I know. I'm supposed to know everything though, you all, you know. People call me about everything, you know. Let me see what else it says. Undisclosed missing heirs, wills not properly probated, misrepresentation of wills and trust, mental incompetence of a grantor of a deed. Wow, that would be a good one. Transfer title by a minor. heirs born after the execution of a will, incorrect legal descriptions, non-delivery of deeds, unsatisfied claims not shown on the record, deeds executed under expired or false powers of attorney, confusion due to similar or identical names. That one's a big one, because there's a lot of people who have had problems because their names are similar to somebody else's. Dower or courtesy rights of spouses of former owners, incorrect indexing of the land records, clerical errors in recording legal documents, and delivery of deeds after the death of the grantor. So those are all pretty big things. So that's what title insurance covers. So when you're talking to a buyer, I would just have this document ready for them and say, these are the things that happen. They don't happen very often, but if they could, and if you take out title insurance, you would be covered in that situation.
Okay, like the mortgage lender will probably be discussing it with you, but I was.
The lender, the title company, not the lender. And the title company is the one that insures the title. And they're the ones that get the money. So they sell these title policies to make more money, but it still doesn't cover the buyer in these situations, okay? They usually, if they used to, if a buyer took out title insurance, then they charge the buyer less money to prepare the deed and do some of the things on her. It offsets some of that. Any questions on that? How many of you all are familiar with command and designs? A little bit? A little bit? What's that?
I said all I can, but.
I know, but in designs, there are pre-made presentations for you to go in and make and personalize. I haven't used them. Courtney teaches a little bit of the class on that, don't you, Courtney? I mean, Cheyenne.
We did it a little bit at the beginning of this Ignite class.
That's when
I'm happy to go over it with anybody that needs it. But also, Scott Lowry Marketing is something we pay for, and they have a training literally for everything in command. So I would utilize that as well.
That's good to know. Let's see. We have some people in chat.
You're good. I'm watching it.
Okay. Oh, I've got people asking to get the handouts. It was like, oh,
Jeffrey said he was either going to email them or put them in people's mailboxes. So I told Susan that.
okay, all right. I've got some extra copies of handouts and tell her I'll put a paper copy in her mailbox because I have extras that I made for the class. All right, let me see. Let me look at my highlights here. Oh, you want to use try to get a buyer needs analysis to sit down with them and find out what they want and their things that they have to have and things that are just wants. Oh, when you are showing property and you have the MLS information, make sure that you're reading the agent remarks and that you are scheduling according to the listing agent's instructions, trying to get in with our showing time, that you can put notes into showing time. There's all kinds of things about showing time that people can use to send out mass text to agents that regarding a listing, like if you want people to make sure that they get their offers in by a certain time, you can actually do that through showing time. And I'm also trying to get Megan to do a Canva class for us. Have you gotten the schedule yet?
No. Cheyenne, we need to figure that out.
What?
The schedule me to teach a Canva class.
Okay, I'll be back in town Friday and maybe we can chat about it.
That's fine. Whatever's easiest for you.
Where are you, Cheyenne?
My mother-in-law had her knee replaced on Monday, so I'm up in Valparaiso, Indiana, hanging out with her.
Okay. All right, well, I'm gonna be in Florida Friday through Wednesday. Yeah.
We can't have.
I'd love to attend a Canva class.
But oh yeah, I would love to have a Canva class too. So one of the things they pointed out for your sellers is make sure that you have a very frank discussion about the condition of their home. And that you do it delicately, like odors from pets, smoking, mothballs or unclean conditions, clutter conditions, deferred maintenance, personalized decor. Removing sellers for showings. Illegal activities, like growing marijuana, probably is not a good idea in a house.
In the house or outside the house?
Anywhere, it's not a good idea. Guns in the house, cash, jewelry, or other expensive items. So you want to remind your sellers that even though we have agents that are going to be with their buyers, and don't give buyers codes to get in houses without an agent being with them. We are hearing things about that right now that are going on because we can give codes to people without them being licensed agents now with those new boxes. But don't give a code to a buyer to let them go into a house by themselves without an agent.
Marina, I have a question.
Okay.
That it could be along those lines.
Okay.
So, my husband's an attorney. Attorneys can sell real estate. I was speaking to him about either getting his license or just selling real estate, looking into how that has to happen. So, what about a situation such as that? Say I'm busy here at the arena and I need someone to see a home. He can sell a real estate, but is that frowned upon that he would maybe assist me in showing the house? If he just went in to let them in the house and not talked about.
Actually, you can have somebody show a house that's not licensed.
But they're not supposed to talk to them about the workings of the house, right?
The only thing that they are allowed to do, and there is a document in .loop called unlicensed assistant, and it gives you a whole list of things that they can do.
Okay, awesome. I didn't know that. That sounds scary though.
They can't discuss the property. They can hand out a pamphlet about the house that you have prepared for them, or the MLS has. And they can open the door and let them in. That's what I was saying now. Oh, you have to be available for them to contact you. If they are showing for you, they have to have a way to communicate with you.
Makes sense.
Okay?
Yes, thank you.
I think you're better off just to contact a few people in the office and have another agent show it for you.
That's what I've done, is I've had people and I pay them to do
You
it.
can either pay them or just say, I owe you. And if I need something, just let me know and I'll show one for you.
Yeah.
Well, that was just a question of opportunity. I've never done that. However, I'm just he's talking about retiring and I'm just trying to entice him into, us working together.
Well, if he wants to get involved in real estate more at a higher level, I think, and he's going to need to get a real estate license, just like Joe Daugherty did. Joe was an attorney, but he chose to get a real estate license so that he could.
It's me wanting him to do it, not him wanting to do it.
Well, I don't know if you know this either, Denise. I just learned this the other day, but if there's a husband and wife team, they only have one cap.
That's correct.
So your cap would not change if he became a licensed agent here. You can cap together.
Yes.
And you can share.
That's the stuff I'm talking about.
He can, he would put you as a sponsor, and then you would get the profit share from his closings.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, help me talk him into that.
Okay, okay. They mentioned designs in this. This is a good way for you to build your listing presentation and your buyer's presentation. Let's see, anything else I want to bring up? Oh, okay, so what I'm supposed to do now is let you all, if you have any questions, anybody that's still on the Zoom, anybody have any questions right now? Hopefully this is.
Nothing in the chat.
I'm good.
I just said there's nothing in the chat.
Okay, so what they recommend, and some of you all might want to do this, is to spend the rest of the time, which is supposed to be till noon here, lead generating. And the recommendation is 10 conversations with your sphere, people you know and who know you, 10 contacts added to your database, name, phone, address, and more, and 10 handwritten notes. Express gratitude or let people know you're in real estate and appreciate referrals. So I don't know if you all noticed, but Philip was writing notes while we were here. And I've known over the last year or so, I've watched him write notes to people. Every time I see him, he's writing personal notes of some kind. And his business has dramatically increased. Do you think it's part of the written notes are really making a difference?
Past 3 years of,
Yeah,
for lack of a better word, exploded, I guess, compared to what I was.
were you writing personal notes before like that?
I've been doing that for a while, but I think it takes a little bit of time to build that up, and it takes consistency. So I think it took
Sure.
a couple of years of people consistently getting things from me for me to be the one that is talking.
Sure. So it really pays off, but I watch him every day that we're out there, he's writing notes to people, so. The one thing that I do have to warn you about is the no call list, do not call. And that's the last thing on this, that they, I don't know if there's been an upcharge on people getting fined, because it's a huge fine. And I like to have some people fined that call me every day and drive me crazy, because I get so many spam calls or people calling me. But you should sign up for the do not call list directory. And I'm not sure how that works. I was going to try to do that, and I forgot. There's the Telephone Consumer Protection Act. And then the do not call restrictions. But there's a way to sign up for it, and the only way around that is if a person has signed into like an open house and agreed to let you call them. But that allows you to get in touch with them. Yes.
What about command?
What about command?
The leads,
Can you call them?
yeah,
What you're asking me?
that would we have to check that?
I would check that number, unless it's some way that somebody has got, for
They
example,
have to sign into.
they do. Well, I would say that they probably are given permission to be called if they're signing in to it. Do you
No,
know?
I don't know exactly what you're asking, talking about, like how are they, about people that you're having?
No, but
They like register through your website.
yeah, and then I think you can reach out to them if they can tell you.
Through like Facebook or Instagram ads or something, and then we go to.
You have to register.
I probably double check and see what either, because they probably have to go to like
You don't.
the
I don't
thing,
think
the thing where they sign.
That's a good question.
Rates their information on the whatever social media platform. So depending on what that says,
You know,
that says that it gives you the ability to contact them.
I think it does, because I just got contacted by somebody through command. And it had their telephone number for me to call them. So I didn't do it, but.
And that was my other question, the end of are you at the point at 40 years where you don't need to lead gen?
I don't, I sold over $6 million worth of real estate last year, and I didn't lead generate at all. So, there's Scott Ackerman. He's finally brave enough to get out in the world since COVID, but he's got 2 masks on. And I'll tell you a story in a minute about COVID. I do send out a jumbo calendar at Christmas to everybody on my database. And it cost me about $2.50 for the calendars and postage. But my people love them. And they're the bigger ones, not the tiny little ones, so you can actually write on them.
How many people would you say
300.
that you've gotten transactions from sending that calendar out?
How many, every year, it's probably 10 people, 10 to 12 people maybe. And that's my 6 million. I mean, I did 14 transactions. But I'm at a higher price point because people my age are buying more expensive houses. Most of us are anyway, or we hope we are, but.
Or either they're selling really expensive on the downside.
Yes, are they selling them and upsizing, which they didn't know they were gonna do. I sold a 1,800 square foot house and bought a 5,400 square foot house. But it's only half, it's unfinished half of it. 2,700 is unfinished in the basement and 2,700. But it is just, it was an investment opportunity that we couldn't turn down. That I was lucky to find, and it was off market, and so, but I've had to put money into it because it needed to work, but it's an investment that we'll use the money to support our $10,000 a month utility. No,
That's funny.
You know, what's so wild about it is that my utilities are almost the same as what it was in my other house. It must be really well insulated. I dated the builder back in the 80s. Seriously.
That's fine.
And I haven't been able, I'm not in contact with him anymore to tell him I've bought one of his houses, but it's 2 gas furnaces. And they're not real brand new, but they're, and I maintain them. I have Synergy Home, service with them, every 6 months. But my gas bill is $108 a month. My electric bill is $140 a month. And that's about what I paid it on the other house. So I didn't have gas. So, I mean, for my utilities to go up about $100 and something a month and get all that room, but as everybody said, she needs storage. And so I got storage. So I'm trying to get rid of all the stuff in that basement right now. My husband thinks he's gonna finish it and double the square footage and sell the house for twice what we paid for it, which would be $1 million. So it wouldn't be bad. It's good. I had COVID and I was diagnosed December 31st, positive COVID. My husband was too. He took Paxlovid because he got really sick, more so than I think than I did. And he got on Paxlovid immediately, and it really helped him. I was feeling better by the time my doctor was going to give it to me, and I did not take it, and I struggled for 3 weeks with it. So whatever's out there right now, it can really zap you. So just be careful. And I don't know, I'm going to be on a plane, so I'm going to wear a mask. Because I'm hearing people coming back from going on airplane rides, and they're coming back with COVID. So Any questions about real estate?
Thank you very much.
Or anything else?
You're welcome.
I always look forward to teaching these classes. And I like to see what people are thinking about real estate and how they're doing. So,
Thank you for teaching, Myrna. I love when you teach because you just have a wealth of knowledge.
well, I hope I do. If I don't, then there's something wrong with being in real estate for over 40 years. I taught school and sold real estate for 15 years. So it was challenging, but it was fun though. And I sold to teachers. So we had the same hours and I would, you know, I could show them after school and on weekends. And so that's how I built my business. For 15 years, I did that and taught school. And then I retired from teaching. So, all right, you all have a
Thank you, Myrna, so much.
You're welcome. Everybody have a good day.
Thanks, Myrna. You too.
If you all have something that you think is a good handout for people to use, let me know and we'll incorporate that in our other classes. So I am not really familiar with Scott Leroy, but apparently he is very good about being able to, or those classes are really good.